but on a real note, it's gonna be about the crazy man with the great mustache. Mustache.
Oh, that's gonna be great. I think Albertan also wants. Yes, you can share your screen, Ibrahim.
Okay, just give me a minute. Let me find the file. Okay. Wait. Okay.
Imagine not having it on your desktop.
A minute.
Well, Yusuf starts.
No, wait. Here. Wait. Yeah, there it is.
Just search the name, man.
Okay. How do you share your screen? What's this?
From this button here, you'll find arrow.
I do not have it. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Click on the arrow and share desktop or computer.
Okay.
Yeah, loading.
Teacher, I have a question, please.
There we go.
Yes, Noah.
I sent you the project. I should
Yeah,
explain
it's your
or
present.
not? Okay.
The Ottoman and Catholics Empire. I think, Ibrahim, that was the presentation for last week, right?
I mean, everybody is talking about this topic, and you said it's fine. So.
This was the presentation for last week.
Wait.
Well, يعني oh no, he figured it out.
See?
He's on to us, so no.
We finished it, but
I mean, I have both presentations, so I don't mind presenting it.
yeah, me too.
Well, I can present the other one by brain, you know.
By brain, yeah, by
yes.
brain.
I can talk about World War II by my enormous brain. It's fine. Yeah.
Do it then.
Okay, I can. Okay. So I don't have any dates, but I can.
No, what's the point then?
Well, no, I do. I
mean,
don't have dates.
To be fair, I don't have any dates, but like, let the man speak.
Wait.
Okay.
I can. In 1939, the Germans attacked Austria and they first attacked Austria and the Czech, and then after that, the French and the Britons told the Germans, if you attack Poland, because that was the obvious thing the Germans would do, they will attack Poland, and then they told them, if you attack Poland, we will start a war, and the Germans did not care, especially Hitler did not care, and then he attacked Poland, and then the Russians joined with them, and then Germany took half of Poland, and then the Russians took the other half, and then the war started. That's how it started. Like Germany just wanted to conquer everyone. They even conquered Belgium. So they just went around Europe, or like everything around them. That's just, you know, simply.
It's a very vague summary.
Very, very concise one.
Yes.
So he gets a 7 out of 7. Good job. Okay.
Uh-huh. I do not get the full mark.
Until you present me a very concise presentation for the project. Have you presented this last week?
Wait, huh?
Why
Have
did
you
you
presented
lag?
a presentation about the Ottoman Empire last week?
Sorry?
What?
Did any one of you present a presentation last week?
We all had it, but we never
But
told
you
us
didn't
to present.
Yeah, we
sent
all
you,
made
teacher.
it, but we forgot about it.
Yes, I agree with Walid.
Yes, exactly.
You could see the date on our projects. It would say that it was done before.
Okay. Mr. Late, do you have
Yes.
a project or you don't have a project?
So, does the difference between Ottoman and that sound like a project, or have you changed your mind?
No, it doesn't sound like a project.
Well, that's not good.
That's pretty bad.
Well then, maybe I'll present a project tomorrow, or if I get one done by the end of this class, I'll try.
Can I present?
Okay, Walid.
Okay, one
And
second.
I got it because we need to finish something. Are you gonna share your screen? Walid?
Hello?
Yeah, are you gonna share your screen?
Yes, I will.
Loading.
Did it load?
Causes of World War II by Walid Al-Qassam.
Causes for the concern: post World War I settlement, which was the Treaty of Versailles for the Germans, shifting world powers, the Great Depression, and the rise of I can't speak. Totalitarian dictators. Post World War I settlement. This settlement was the Treaty of Versailles. After World War I, the Allies made Germany sign this, which basically the Germans couldn't have an air force. They had to remove their troops from the Rhinelands, which was lands that was to the west of Germany, that was that shared the border with France. They couldn't have an air force, and they had to pay $80 billion. So sums up everything here. This is what happened. Shifting world powers. After World War One, everyone became broke except for the Soviet Union and the United States. So they emerged as the superpowers. The Great Depression. Many countries depended on US for money. The Great Depression hit the US. Americans stopped buying products from overseas. US banks lent money to war-torn nations. Banks shut down when they don't get money back. So these countries couldn't return the money back. Countries take extreme measures to regain prosperity. Nationalistic groups, i.e., the Nazis, can rise to power due to promises of prosperity. So the reason Hitler and the Nazi Party grew was he told Germany that he'll bring Germany back to its great old days, which he then failed. Just pictures here. The rise of totalitarian dictators: Adolf, Joseph Stalin, Mussolini, and whatever his name is, Tojo. I didn't really study much about him. The mad little mustache guy, aka Hitler. So Hitler's early life, his father was Olius. He was a high-ranking official in Austria, but Hitler was a very, very prideful German, not Austrian. His mother was Clara. She died 28 when she was age 28, and Us died when he was 58. He wasn't a good student. He used to be, but after the death of his little brother, he wasn't a good student. He wanted to be an artist. His dad abused him a lot. Us died in 1903. Hitler moves to Vienna, Austria, to pursue an art degree, but he fails. Finally fitting in, fails physically in Vienna for Austrian army. He volunteers for the German army. He loses World War One. He was ashamed of it because he says he's a German. Anyways, blah blah blah. Hitler and foundation of Nazi Party. The Nazis form in 1919 as a German Workers' Party, and Hitler gets involved. He actually was a part of the police force, I believe, to go and scout out these parties, but then he just ditched the police and became an official with them. He actively participated as a speaker and becomes recognized as the party leader. Comes up with a 25-point program to make Germany better. The unification of Germany, so he took Czechoslovakia and Austria, which is Hungary. Only German citizens, no Jews. Government owns corporations, so this is socialism. He creates a private army, which was known as SA or stormtroopers. Fought and assaulted groups who opposed him, and later when he gained power, he just killed them. Here's Hitler. Hitler's Germany. The Great Depression brings Hitler to power because he promises to bring prosperity to the region. His party receives over 13 million votes in 1932 elections. Appointed Chancellor of Germany in January 1933, makes himself dictator in 1934 after the president dies. Nazi Party, founded in the idea of nationalism, blamed Jews and communists for problems Germany faced after World War I, vowed to get revenge for the mistreatment at Versailles, which was the treaty, exerted their power through massive propaganda campaign and military might. So this is the flag, Nazi Germany's flag. Hitler's Germany continues, turns racist ideologies into living practices. Once he proclaims himself dictator, takes control of everything, schools, newspapers, radios, whatever. Sent to concentration camps if opposed Nazi regime. Bragged that the Third Reich would last for 1,000 years. And that's it.
That's more than enough.
Thank you.
Very well. So I guess that Walid has already showed the most important reason for what happened. Yes, Abdurrahman. Can I present? Okay, Abdurrahman, you can present. Let's just go here to the inbox. Can you open your mic at least?
Sorry, I was charging.
Okay.
What are the reasons that lead to?
Will you be able to read this?
During the 1920s, attempts were made to achieve a stable peace. The first was establishment in 1920 of the League of Nations. As of, I can't. Can you zoom in, please, teacher? The first was established in 1920 as a forum.
No. Yeah, that's much better. You can even do this. Yep.
During the 1920 attempts were made to achieve a stable peace. The first was the establishment of 1920 of the League of Nations as a forum in which nations could settle their disputes. The League's powers were limited to persuasions and various levels of moral and economic sanctions that the member were free to carry out as they saw fit. At the Washington Conference of 1921, the principal naval powers agreed to limit their navies according to a fixed ratio. The Locarno Conference, 1925, produced a treaty guarantee of the German-French boundary and arbitration agreement between Germany and Poland. In the Kellogg-Briand Pact, 1928, 63 countries, including all the great powers except the USSR, which is for, if I'm correct, it's for the. Is it for Russia?
Socialist Republic. United
Okay.
Soviet Socialist Republics. Russia nowadays.
Renounced war as an instrument of national policy and pledged to resolve all dispute among them. By pacific means, the signatures had agreed beforehand to attempt exempt wars of self-defense. The rise of fascism. One of the victors' state aims in World War I had been to make the world safe for democracy, and post-war Germany adopted a democratic constitution, as did most of the other states restored or created after the war. In the 1920s, however, the wave of the future appeared to be a form of nationalistic, militaristic totalitarianism, known by its Italian name, fascism. It promised to minister to people's wants more effectively than democracy, and presented itself as the one sure defense against communism. Benito Mussolini established the first fascist European dictatorship during the inter-war period in Italy in 1922.
Alright, so the rise of fascism.
The worldwide Great Depression, the cost of carrying out World War I, as well as the cost of rebuild Western Europe after years of fighting, resulted in enormous debts on the part of the Western European powers to the United States. The enormous reputations put on Germany in the Treaty of Versailles also increased the debts. Coupled with ineffective governments in many of these European states, notably with Weimar Republic, pre-Mussolini Italy, and Socialist France, led to slow reconstruction and poor economic growth. Anti-Comintern Pact and Tripart Pact. These were pacts between Germany, Italy, and Japan. The Anti-Comintern Pact had been a pact that denounced communism, and it was initially signed by Japan and Germany. However, later, as German and Italian relations improved, Italy also signed this, was made stronger later by the Rome-Berlin-Tokyo Axis in 1938. The Tripartite Pact also strengthened the alliance, and it was basically a confirmation of the Rome-Berlin-Tokyo Axis. The atomic bomb, 1945. On August 6, 1945, a lone B-29 bomber named the Enola Gay appeared over the skies of Hiroshima. Air raid sirens went off around the city, and people ran off their shelters. However, minutes later, the all clear symbol was given, though it had been seemingly harmless run. The B-29 had in fact dropped a single bomb. This bomb was called Little Boy. This bomb detonated about 1,900 feet over Hiroshima and leveled much of the city within a few thousand of seconds. 10 of thousands were killed immediately, and many more would eventually die from the radiation poisoning.
And
That's
very
it.
bad. Alright, thank you, Abdurrahman, very much for your presentation.
So can I present?
Okay, Iyad.
Okay. 1 second.
Teacher,
Yes, Nawaf.
I sent you the project on Classera.
Okay, after the answers, you may present.
Okay.
Are you gonna share your screen yet? Okay, loading.
Do you see it?
Still loading.
Okay, good.
Yes. Social traffic.
Social project. Teacher Ahmed. Okay. The art, literature, and architecture in the Muslim civilization. Muslim art and architecture reflected the diverse traditions of various people who lived under the Muslim rule. Religion shaped the arts and literature of Muslim civilization. Muslim literature. Arab had a rich tradition of oral poetry. In musical verses, poets chanted the danger of desert journeys, the joy of battle, or the glory of their clans. Their most important themes were chivalry and romance of nomadic life. They reoccurred in Arabic poetry throughout the centuries. Arab writers also prized the art of storytelling. The great work of Islamic literature was the Quran itself. Muslim religion shaped architecture. The main purpose of early mosques was to serve as community centers for the faithful. They were hubs for social interaction and group prayer. Later, domed mosques and high minarets dominated Muslim cities. Islam is integral to Muslim architecture. Mosques were designed to meet the needs of Muslims with a place to worship God. Muslim art. Early Muslims believed that God should not be worshipped. No, that God should be worshipped directly, not through representations. They avoided picturing God or Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Instead, they emphasized the importance of God's words. They also used calligraphy to add physical beauty to the spiritual words of Quran. Religious artists decorated the handwriting pages with borders containing geometric shapes, like the one on the right. Concluded. Concluded, Islamic influence could be seen around the world like India, Spain, Romans, and Persia and other places like Taj Mahal and the other places. England.
All right, thank you very much, Iyad. And I just like the way that you started to copy from Sabah Realized. That's pretty good. And from
No. Wallah, I didn't copy. Wallah, I wrote it. أقسم بالله.
Yeah, I believe you.
Wallah, I wrote it from the book.
Yeah.
If anyone copied it, was Walid Abdurrahman. Look at them. They wrote like 200 slides.
Okay.
Teacher, can I share my screen? I will do my project.
Okay, yeah, Nawaf first, and then you are.
Okay.
Mr.
Yes,
Nawaf.
teacher.
And I hope that it's not a million slides. Nawaf. Let's see.
No, it's a PowerPoint.
No, not Nawaf al-Bala.
I sent the teacher. Yes.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
Only. Isn't that a little bit long?
This teacher.
Isn't that a little bit long?
I don't hear you good.
It's a little bit long.
Wrong?
Long.
Long. Oh, I mean wrong. I will tell you little slides.
Okay. Tell us little details about the Islamic culture.
Islamic culture introduction. There are over 1 billion Muslims throughout the world, and though they speak hundreds of different languages and live in dozens of different countries, they still share a common Muslim culture. This culture is embedded in certain common beliefs that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his messenger. Muslim customs and traditions include Islamic Muslim clothing, food, wedding traditions, and other aspects of Islamic life that Muslims have adopted in their respective countries.
Okay.
Basic concept of Islamic culture. Muslim culture represents the unification of all cultures, influenced by common beliefs and practice. The guiding religious phenomena and cultural aspects bind its people historically. The religious practice and beliefs Muslim are centered around the religion of Islam. The original Muslim literature is in Arabic. The religion of Islam. The original Muslim is in Arabic, the prophet language. Most of the literature is religious in nature. It comprises communication and documentation of the belief system from the Quran, Sirah, and Hadith. History of Islamic culture. Secular Muslim literature developed in the Umayyad Empire. It was taken by the Arabs to distant lands and became part of a popular culture. In due course of time, Persian became one of the main languages of the civilization in the subcontinent. Scientific property. And that's it, teacher.
Characteristics
Correct.
of Islam, art of Islam, music.
Everything I write.
No, that's great. Islamic civilization, introduction, the history of Islam. Oh, that's a lot, man. Okay, thank you very much, Nawaf.
Welcome to the good teacher, Mark.
Yeah,
Teacher,
great. 7 out of 7.
Okay.
I
Ahmad?
am ready.
Ahmed first, I believe.
Yes. Okay. You can see, teacher.
Loading. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. The art, literature, and architecture in the Muslim civilization. First, Islamic art. Islamic art encompasses the visual arts produced in the Islamic world. Yes, teacher?
Yes, Ahmed, continue, please.
Okay. Islamic art is difficult to characterize because it covers a wide range of lands, periods, and genres, including Islamic architecture, Islamic calligraphy, Islamic miniature, Islamic glass, Islamic pottery, and textile arts such as carpets and embroidery. It comprises both religious and secular art forms. Religious art is represented by calligraphy, architecture, and furnishings of religious buildings such as mosque fittings, woodwork, and carpet. Secular art also flourished in the Islamic world, although some of its elements were criticized. I don't know where the word gone. Oh, okay. Architecture. First columns. Early Islamic columns followed the style seen in the classic period of the Mediterranean. Classic columns can be seen in earlier mosques such as the Great Mosque of Damascus and Cordoba, which is in the picture. These columns can vary in form from being completely smooth and having vertical or twisting footing. Arts, Islamic arts, similar to columns, followed a style similar to Roman architecture. There are three distinct shapes of Islamic arts, which include horseshoe, keel, and polylobuled. However, in ancient India, Islamic arcs take shape after being pointed, lobed, or ogi. Islamic literature. Islamic literature is literature written by Muslim people influenced by an Islamic cultural perspectives or literature that portrays Islam. It can be written in any language and portray any country or region. It includes many literary forms, including adabs, a non-fiction form of Islamic advice, literature, and various fictional literary genres. Fiction, the best known fiction from the Islamic world is the Book of 1001 Nights, which is called Arabian Nights, a compilation of many earlier folk tales set in a frame story of being told serially by the Persian queen Shahrazad. Poetry, Cultural Muslim poetry is influenced by both Islamic metaphors and local poetic form of various regions, including the Arabic traditions of Qasida, actually beginning since ancient pre-Islamic times. Some Sufi traditions are known for their devotional poetry. Arab poetry influenced the rest of Muslim poetry world over. Likewise, Persian poetry too shared its influences beyond borders of modern-day Iran, particularly in South Asian language like Urdu, Bengali, and etc. That's it.
Thank you very much, Ahmed, for your presentation. Concise one about the Islamic culture and literature and also poetry. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Yusuf, you can present now.
Yes, I am ready. Let me just figure out where it is. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. COVID affecting education around the world by Yusuf Al-Mu'min for Mr. Ahmed Al-Wakil. The start. When COVID-19 was first discovered, education and schooling didn't change much. The virus had infected less than 100,000 people in the world, and some people were recovering. So people weren't really scared and had no reason to change anything. The virus started spreading. A few months after the discovery of COVID-19, people and governments were worried about the rapid worldwide spread of the virus. Some cancelled school while some only promoted good hygiene and masks. At around March of 2020, most countries moved to online schooling. Online schooling. The sudden and unprepared move to online schooling gave various technical and lag difficulties and made it hard to learn and teach. Here in KSA, the report cards for the online semester were cancelled and replaced with the ones for the semester before. The second online year. After a chaotic year for education, the next school year started, but this time they were ready. While some governments like the USA went back to in-person school, most still had online education, but this time they learned from the first time the improved platforms for education. Improved online learning. In KSA, the government launched a new website dedicated to online schools. Online learning was much less problematic, but still had its own issues. Students. In online classes, less students are participating, either due to hardware issues or just being too easy to skip a class and watch recordings. I'm pretty sure we can all see that. Attention. It is harder to pay attention in online classes. Some find it due to having a headache from looking at screens for too long, or as I find it from having a distracting environment. Exams. There is no way to guarantee what a student is doing during an online exam. Cheating is as easy as just opening the book. Since exams are online, lag and technical difficulty could ruin a person's exam, and I'm pretty sure we all experienced that at least once. This is the end.
Thank you very much. It was very, very great one. Thank you, Yusuf, for your presentation.
Yes.
And I really liked it.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So finally, I would like just to thank all of you guys for your presentations and your project, and I hope that you just learned something from it, not just by copying from Encyclopedia or Wikipedia or that thing. Projects are made so that you can get benefited from it. And unfortunately, today we weren't able to take a session, but what can we say? Projects are important too. Just one question before we finish. We have already finished topic 8.5, right? Until page 258. The Phoenician Islamic
Sure.
North Africa. Yeah.
Yes,
sure.
we finished that.
So tomorrow we'll start by the new topic, which is Kingdom of West Africa, Mali, Ghana, and Senegal. Hope that all of you are okay. If you have any question, you are welcome to ask. If you don't have any question, see you tomorrow, grade
9. I have one.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Did I get 7?
For what?
For the project.
Yeah, I'll give you 7.
Oh, by the way, I'm not joking. I didn't copy it. Go check the book. It's all there.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, thank
Wait,
you.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Am I done or do I have?
What do you think?
I think I have done a pretty good job on explaining how World War II started.
All right, Ibrahim, you don't have to do anything. Unfortunately, you are in a very tight situation right now, and the timing is not sufficient.
Yeah, exactly. That's also a
Well,
second
that's
reason.
your-
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
I'll send you the presentation